everyone, my name is Elise. Welcome back to the channel where I like to talk about all things personal finance. And today I wanted to talk about how the stock market is up over 1,000 points. So if you have personal stock in the market, 401ks, Roth IRAs, you are happy today because we have seen a slump this last, I would say, 45 days. And not only is the stock market up, other things are being affected, like the dollar is going up, as well as gold is going down slightly, which is kind of a good sign because that means there's more confidence in like the US Treasury. And the stock market is rallying solely because President Trump caved on his tariff promise with China, and we kind of have a reprieve for the next few months. The thing with tariffs is that they have affected us because it is one of his campaign promises, but they have not affected us concretely yet. I think they more so affect the mentee of us here in America, but things have not progressed yet because it's only been about 5 months into the presidency. Some examples of that would be for cars, as an example. So he decided to put a significant amount of tariffs on cars, right? Now, car prices haven't gone up yet, and that's because in the mentee of us people who potentially want to get cars, and I'm one of those people, we are hesitant. We are hesitant because we don't know how much the car is going to cost and if that's in our budget, as well as how much the parts related to the car, future value, that will need to be put into it. I'm sure people went into his ear and was like, if you do not be cautious about these tariffs, you're going to probably have to bail out the car industry. So what happened? The tariffs are gone for I don't know how many days, because that's his MO right now. He's not saying they're gone forever. He's saying they're down for how many days. Another example is how it's messing with our mental, but it hasn't come to fruition 100% yet, or even a little bit of that percent, is that our ports are empty. Our ports have been empty now for about 2 weeks. And when you think of empty ports, if you think back to 2020, you think that there are going to be empty shelves. And he has been warned, we will have empty shelves. And the fear of that is probably what caused what's happening today, where they went ahead and cut off all the tariffs, because hysteria of people buying stuff up is not good for what we need to be happening right now. So fast forward to today, or actually last week leading up to today, we have gotten another reprieve on a section of his goal of tariffs, and that is specifically with China. And I'm going to read exactly the numbers that was succeeded to on both sides. But they met in Geneva, which I believe is in Switzerland, because I know Geneva is neutral, and the only country I remember that's neutral is Switzerland. And both countries have decided to the following. So America has decided to charge America has decided to charge China imports at 30% instead of the original 145%. And then China has decided to only levy a 10% tariff, which was changed from 125% of a tariff on US imported goods. This is specifically for imported goods, and it looks like both sides have seceded to a 90% relief amounts, but this is only for 90 days. And I'm pretty sure the bottom line is that both countries need each other to have the economies in those countries to keep going. America needs China, and China needs us. And I think it can be seen, underlined in different industries. Off the top, in America, you can think of right now, it's gonna affect our truckers, it's gonna affect the port workers, and then there's going to be a trickle down in other industries that maybe don't come to mind, but doesn't mean that the effect doesn't keep brewing as long as we have these tariffs in effect. I can think about my industry, which is retail and the food industry. I can't say that it hasn't been affected yet, but I can say that I have seen it a little bit in grocery stores. Not to the point where things are empty, but not everything is as full as it used to be. So, I mean, I can only imagine what other industries that I may not be involved in, day out, that are affected. And if you're watching and you are actually a part of an industry that you see that is being affected, let me know in the comments. And then as far as like China, they have industries of manufacturers, people who make everything. And as much as they're being bullish with us and saying that they're not going to tolerate the treatment that they're receiving, a lot of their workforce is in manufacturing. So if they aren't getting the orders, because I'm pretty sure America is a large client, I know it's not their only client, but if we're not shipping in the orders, or the order is not actually making it to us, those people are affected, and it's going to also be a trickle-down thing in China's economy. Although this reprieve from tariffs is great for us in the short term, because it's only 90 days, we don't know what's going to happen the next 3.5 months of this administration, it is a great reprieve on our stock market involvements and probably for our mental stability. However, there are far-fetching consequences that I think we need to talk about. And those are going to be consequences for China as well as consequences for America. I'll start with China in saying that one of those consequences is that China is making moves, and they have shown us, and those moves are showing us that in 4 years or 5 years from now, they will be better off. Examples. China is still making moves over here on the western side of the world, but instead of making it with us, which they probably would have, they made it exclusively with Mexico. On their side of the world in the east, or next to America, I don't know geographically how I would refer to it, but over there, they have made trade deals exclusively between themselves, Japan, and South Korea. And as a history student, I can tell you, Japan and China don't normally do that in their history. So the fact that they are doing that tells me that China is, again, looking at its long-term options and what will fortify them as a nation. Another thing that China has done is that they have barred us, America, from having rare earth minerals that we need for aviation and weaponry. So those are the consequences that I see a brew over there in China. Over here in America, what I see is us not actually investing as we should be and possibly putting ourselves in a worse situation. Hear me out. Over here, what I see happening in America, currently right now, and what I could see worsening in the next 3 to 5 years is stagflation. And stagflation is both inflation being up as well as stagnation being up. Inflation, I think about the rising cost of living in America, namely insurance and namely housing pricing. And then another thing is that food is expensive. Food is expensive. And I used to kind of roll my eyes when people say like grocery shopping is even expensive now. But I see it, especially in things when you're trying to kind of weaken the blow that you can't eat out anymore. So you try to make nicer meals at home. Getting all those ingredients together is a good $50 to $80. And if you're thinking about eating out, if it's a nice establishment per person, it's $50, and $50 is just for one meal and one drink. If you do more, it's going to be $100. As well as even at a casual dining place, it's probably only $5 less at $45 to have a well-rounded meal. And stagnation is at a rise at a higher rate in America, either by force or by choice, because we as Americans are learning to lean out our expenses and only do the necessities. On top of that, a lot of us are doing this thing called low spend. Probably wasn't something we had gold for in 2025, but I know I'm personally doing it because it only behooves me to do it. There are other reasons as well, but if a plurality of Americans are low spending, that is going to stall the economy. Let me know in the comments if you have started to do low spending or even thinking about it, because at this point it looks like it would behoove us all to keep a little bit more money in our pocket and then to spend it on things that we really know aren't necessary given the options that we have in front of us. This recent update of the tariff situation between China and us here in America is also a little bit annoying because we don't know where we are going to be standing the next 90 days. And the 90 days after that, and the 90 days after that. This latest announcement update about the tariffs is also slightly annoying because it makes you ask the question, is this how it's going to be every 90 days? Are we ever just going to have a moment of stillness, maybe a year, maybe 2 years until, what is that called, midterm elections? It seems like we're not going to really be able to exhale, and we're going to have to be holding our breath, it seems like, for every 90 days. And I think that's really unfortunate because it definitely feels like manipulation, and it becomes hard to be able to assess where you stand in your personal finances. And it's hard because things are just not being allowed to happen longer than 90 days. And whenever you're trying to gauge anything important to you, whether it be your blood results or how new behavior is happening in your life, as well as your personal finances, you need more than 90 days to get your footing. You need more than 90 days to see what is working and what is not, truly. And I feel like these Band-Aids, these 90-day Band-Aids, are not allowing us to see whether the tariffs are having good consequences or bad consequences. So yeah, although that kind of sucks, there are some good things afoot. The first one being, at least there isn't going to be hysteria at the grocery stores and at the big box stores, because the ports are going to be able to be replenished, shelves and supply chains are going to be able to be replenished, and things will be normalized for us yet again. Another good thing is, if you're in the stock market, we won't have to worry about that, at least for 90 days, presumably. The ever concerns that I still see being there is that the US government and us as Americans are not investing in ourselves as we should, and I hope that doesn't come to bite us in the ass in 4 to 5 years. First thing that comes to my mind is that we do not invest in labor jobs, and we need to do that. That's why we are in the pickle that we are in, because labor jobs have been shifted out of America these last 50 years. We are not investing in education. The government is not investing in education, and we as Americans are not invested in educating ourselves, like literal reading, math, and arts, as well as financial education. And our worldly neighbors don't necessarily like us as much as they used to, and I dare to say they're starting to really dislike us. Some examples that I can think of is Canada. I'm a Floridian. The Canadians are not messing with Florida, and I see they're not even going to their touristy vacations like they used to in Vegas, in Tennessee, in Kentucky. They're not taking cruises. And then you got to think about Mexico. Mexico's not looking at us very friendly, and Europe is also not too far behind. So in just saying that, I want to paint a question about a situation that can happen, let's say 5 years from now. If cost of living is high and food is high, and China decides to switch up on us like we did to them starting in 2018, because this terrorist thing did not start in 2025. This started 2018 in his first presidency. If China decides to switch it up on us and charge us double or triple what it costs now for us to get our goods, where are we going to be? The answer to that is in a horrible place. So because right now, this 90-day break we have from the tariffs between China and us feels really good. And I'm happy because a lot of people who are going to be hurt financially are not going to be hurt anymore. But I think we need to start really asking ourselves, are we thinking about the consequences? So yeah, y'all, that's what I was thinking after the stock market rose 1,000 points today. I will see you guys next week. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. And until I see you guys next, if you can, keep investing in the stock market, as well as if you can, get rid of your debt. Talk to you later.